Thank you.
I'd like to add, I've actually met with the group, and I know a little, I'm actually, or I was a part of the design selection team. So the drawings and everything that they're working on is quite beautiful. It's exciting. The students are happy to have the project coming. And I think it's a great way to unify my SMD, because now the students have more access to like Union Market and all of the things that are there already because they're using it. But you know, when the doors are open, it'll just solidify the community as a whole. So I'm quite excited about this project.
What's retail? What kind of retail?
They're still working through that part, so we don't know the retail yet.
And what's SM?
But
SM, did you say SM?
a single member district. So
Okay.
each commissioner has a single member district. And one of the things that they were saying, you know, they wanted retail space. No leases are signed, but they wanted retail space that's affordable because college students don't have big pocketbooks. You know, so they wanted that, and they wanted neighbor using businesses, which is what we all want, not just destination retail.
Thanks, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner Lewis. So we are about 10 minutes behind schedule so that we can all get out of here, out of this very cold room. I'm gonna try and get us back on, no one got the joke? Thanks. We're not hot. All right, so next up, we're now moving into our community action items, and I actually neglected to say this earlier. I just did want to make sure everyone was clear. There are 7 commissioners here for required for quorum, so we do have a quorum, and all of our votes would count. So we'll just ask the secretary to note that for the record. And so next up, we do have BZA case 19173 for 1264 Holbrook Terrace. And the way that we're going to approach this presentation, much like we did last month, there'll be 3 minutes for the presenter to provide any of their information they would like to share. And then we'll throw the floor over to the SMD Commissioner to start off our discussion. We'll have 5 minutes of discussion, and then we will hopefully move to a 2-minute vote. And so with that, Commissioner Shropshire, your presenter has the floor for 3 minutes.
Okay, so Rami, I don't remember your last name, Rami, but he is with the BZA applicant, Irene Dubovina, and he will present the project.
I just want to pass out the handouts.
What you pass for you, so you can.
And can I have one also, please? Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Rami Ali with Grand Design. I'm the project architect for 1264 Holbrook Terrace. And with me is Ms. Irene Dubovina. She's the project owner as well. She's here today. A month, I think over a little bit over a month, we presented the project, and it was a completely different design. It was basically, the project was sitting on a 7,500 plus square foot lot, and it was basically one big building with 8 units inside. From that meeting, we met with the neighbors, we went with the community a couple times, and we took, we listened to all the concerns, all the comments that most of the neighbors had, and we incorporated and responded to every single comment in different ways. So that's why this project in the past month and a half went through a couple of revisions. So, but the package that we have in front of you is the most recent revised set that respond to the majority of the comments that we got from the community. Before, as I mentioned earlier, it was one building with 8 units inside. In order to incorporate most of the neighbors' comments, it was kind of impossible to incorporate them given the old design. So that's why you see a huge difference in the design that you have in your hand right now. So at this point, we have, instead of having one big lot at 7,500 square feet, we had to subdivide the lot into 3 smaller lots. Because one of the main comments that the neighbors had, they wanted to maintain the character of the neighborhood. They wanted to maintain that single-family front porch community kind of environment. And our building was pretty much giving the more of the other side of the block where there's a lot of apartment buildings. So they wanted us to make our building conform with that side of the block. And that's why you see the outcome of this new design. The project have transformed into 3 smaller row houses by subdividing the lot into 3 different smaller lots. We're currently working on the subdivision and breaking that big lot into 3 separate lots. And actually, this morning we just had a meeting with the zoning administrator and going over the approval process for that new subdivision. And what you see in your hand is basically the revised design, giving 2 of the lots are simply a by right 2 units per lot. The only thing that we have right now is lot C, which is the 3rd lot towards the neighboring property. We're proposing 3 units with a special exemption. And that's how our application is changing from the previous up. So now we're only going for 1 of the lots with the 3 units on with a special exemption. And just to go very, very quickly with the points that we have from the neighbors, the main points for building height, parking, roof decks, building character, and you see the new design have dropped from 40 feet to 30 feet to 32 feet. Responding to this comment, the parking requirements have increased. Now we have more parking requirements on the project, parking provided on the project. We eliminated all the roof decks that overlooks adjoining properties, finishes, window types. Everything is actually pretty much matching the main character of that lot. And I think the front page or the cover page pretty much reflects the character of the project. And that's pretty much concludes our revisions. And I wanted to keep one thing in mind, that the current design is way more conservative than a by right project, because we're not maximizing lot occupancy or building height. We are way below our maximum building height. We are way below the lot occupancy that we can do by right, simply because we're building smaller units now, which is actually better for the neighbors and for the owner at the same time. So that's why I just want you to keep that in mind, that this design that you have in your hand is a more conservative, less mass of a project than a by right project.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we move into deliberation, so according to the agenda, the commission is going to have 5 minutes to debate the topic. I see you, former commissioner. Just so that I do know there's a fair amount of, I anticipate some questions from the audience, and we're certainly going to try to make time for that. I do want to highlight that the ANC report, in order for our commission to receive great weight, we must turn in a report this evening unless the applicant chooses to extend his time. So that is actually a legal sort of fact that I just want to put out there. And so before we head into 5 minutes of discussion, this is Commissioner Shropshire's SMD, so I'm going to ask her to start our discussion, and then I'll ask commissioners first, just raise their hand if they want the floor, and then within the remaining time, we'll move into the audience. So Commissioner Shropshire.
So I just wanted to say that the community, myself, and the applicant have met on several occasions. Actually, we've met 3 times. And the first time was just an overview of the project. The second time, we actually met with them individually because there were 2 projects that we were considering. And they listened to the concerns of the residents. And the second time that we were supposed to get together was February the 29th, in which we had an opportunity to hear but not see fully what the designs were in terms of what their revisions were. So some of the, many, like Rami indicated, a lot of the concerns that were addressed were related to the density of the project. It was 8 units. They've now are proposing 7 units. The design was definitely something that people had a problem with, and also the character and the streetscape of the project. So with that being said, the revisions that Rami just went over they were provided to us yesterday. So I actually would like for the community to be able to have a little bit more time to digest the information that has been presented, and also consider what the options are that they're addressing in terms of the requirements that that the residents ask them to address. So I just wanted to put that out there because we want to make sure that the community has a chance to weigh in, and there are options on the table to push back the date. So I guess we can open it up for comments.
So questions for Commissioner Lewis.
Actually, I would like to support requesting that they extend their due date so we don't have to make a decision tonight, because I know there were concerns from the Holbrook Terrace neighborhood.
Thoughts from any other commissioners? Commissioner Henderson.
Yes, I want to thank the applicants for your attempt to respond to the community's concerns, but I still find the project a bit massive for the character of that street. And I think mansard roofs are just not the way to go. It just the overall fenestration needs to be reworked. And I think you're making progress, but I would encourage you to go back to the community, because your project, the neighbors have to live with your project for many years to come. And I think that if you listen to the community, embrace their feedback, there is possibility to move forward. And I certainly support asking the BZA to extend your hearing date, so we don't have to make a decision tonight on a project that is contentious and that does not really serve anyone's interest fully.
So I just want to say one more thing, is that I want to thank Irene and Rami for doing this as well. And I think that you all have been listening to the community concerns, and that's why you have come to with the revised plan that you have now. I think that there are some more concerns that haven't been addressed, but the community hasn't had a chance to fully look at what you are proposing. So that's a major concern right there. And so we rely upon hearing what the community has to say in order to be able to make a decision.
Before we move to audience questions, any other commission comments? Mr. Moss.
Thank you for this opportunity. We do appreciate how you have gone back to the table and presented your designs in such a way. I did have an opportunity, and I do definitely appreciate our commissioner who has facilitated the opportunities for us to reach out and to get feedback as well as to receive information. So, according to Office of Planning, you received your plans. They received your plans today. The only reason that they submitted a report was simply because of the obligation to file under a due period, and they want to make sure they make grade. The same respect is given to the ANC to get weight to be able to comply and make to get the grade weight was to be able to meet the guidelines. That same respect is given. I know I spoke to you privately, and you pretty much shared with me that no matter what, if you don't get what you want, you're gonna do what you wanna do, which is by right. So in respect to that, and as well as the information with the dialogue that you shared with Commissioner Shropshire, that's what your plans are. And it doesn't make for a friendly environment for us. Mr. Mathis is the abutting neighbor, and there's still some massive concerns. Mrs. Purnell, who is not on email, and we have not had an opportunity to reach out, although we have reached out to her daughter, who has not had an opportunity to respond, there are still some concerns. Some of us who are on email have addressed some concerns, but yet still need a little bit more time. So in respect to what Commissioner Shropshire said, we're in agreement. With respect to Commissioner Pettigay and Commissioner Henderson, we are in agreement that we postpone it. Now, we do understand you have a challenge, and your challenge is that you're pregnant and you want to go forward, and that's what you communicated to us. But we also have a challenge is because we're going to have to live with the project. So, based on the report
Mr. Moss,
that
I'm
was
gonna ask you to wrap it up.
okay, based on the report that was submitted by Office of Planning, is they rushed their approval. And they rushed their approval simply because you did go back to the table. So the relief that you're asking for is something that yet still we want to consider.
Commissioners, are there any other comments? If we can move to debate, if the commissioner would like, happy to entertain that motion.
I think was not
So,
being.
but actually, before we do that, so I'm actually gonna move the extended debate by 3 minutes. Is there a second?
That's it.
All four?
Yes, sir.
Great, go ahead, we have 3
I'm
minutes.
sorry, I
Yes,
didn't
ma'am.
hear what you're saying, sir. I think what he's not mentioning, he mentioned some of the stuff, but what he's not mentioning is the neighbors that are directly impacted by whatever they do. And I agree with what Commissioner Henderson said, it is a massive project for our street, our tiny little one-way street that we have. But there is a senior citizen that lives right next door. And they still have not explained to us what's gonna happen to her property because she's in a wooden house. So whatever happens, they're connecting to that property, but this is not what they've talked to us about or explained to us because somehow she's gonna be affected, that's Mrs. Burnell. And then we have Mr. Matthews. He's going to be affected as well. So these are issues, they've been living on this street longer than me. They're homeowners. This is what we're still not doing. It was great that you went back to the drawing board and all of that, like that was good. But someone who has been on that street and is a senior should not be inconvenienced. Her house, when you start your work, her house may fall down. You're not hearing from you anything about that. I haven't. If you said something, but I don't see how you can do what you said you're gonna do without impeding upon either one of these neighbors who are homeowners, who have been there. How many years have you been on the street? 33 years. I'm a homeowner on the street as well. I've been there 8 years, and I know how I feel. I can't imagine them being there 33 years, and then you all come for development and for economic reasons to
Is that
just
house
impede on
falling?
the property. We are neighborly on our street. We look out for one another. So you need to keep that in mind during this time, and you know, it's important.
Oh, yeah.
So presenters, I think, you know, you're hearing the tone of the room. For the commission, I would sort of raise a point of information that the commission has a couple of options. As I said before, the ANC report is due from us this evening. So the commission can vote to support the project. The commission can vote to oppose the project. You all could ask for an extension, which would require us to do neither of those things, or the commission can do nothing. We do have about 30 seconds left, so if there are other thoughts from the commission, I just wanted to raise that those
I have an issue.
were options. I believe, want to point out that I don't believe the commission can ask for an extension. It would have to, great.
Yeah,
Only thing with.
Commissioner Henderson.
Yes, I would strongly urge this commission to ask the BZA. This commission is your legal representation, and we have an obligation to not only hear you, listen to your concerns, and consider them in our deliberations. So I would strongly suggest that every commissioner here vote to ask the Board of Zoning Adjustment for an extension so that we can right-size this project with your input.
Commissioner Lewis.
Okay, I have a question, because Commissioner Sharpshire said we can, request the extension. However, if we request the extension and they oppose the extension, can they by matter of right go through with their project? I might be more comfortable with the opposition.
So we can oppose, or both parties can agree that we're going to request an extension. If there's like, one party says no and the other party says yes, then the BZA, of course, has the final decision. So if we oppose the project, that is saying that they would have to definitely go back, you know, and address why we oppose it. We would indicate why we were opposing the project.
So I've remained neutral up to this point, and I would sort of echo what I think the room is telling you, that we would like to see you work more collaboratively with more than 48 hours notice. This is, for many folks in the room, this is the community's first time they're hearing it. I personally would actually, I would suggest taking this a step further to Commissioner Lewis's point. I would actually support the commission basically writing a letter of opposition to the project. At this point, what we have is what we received almost 2 months ago. That's great that there are plans here tonight, but we haven't had a chance to read them, and the community certainly hasn't had a chance to weigh in. So with that, we've got 45 seconds left if anyone else from the commission would like to weigh in. If not, we'll... Okay, yes ma'am.
No, I'm the chief applicant, I'm the project owner. I have been speaking to Commissioner Shropshire on this issue, and I don't have a problem. I don't want to force anybody to vote on such short notice. I'm happy for Ms. Shropshire to go back to the community and give you a week or so or two that you need to discuss this with the community. The only thing I ask is that we don't postpone this until the next ANC vote, which is April 11th, because that pushes the potential BZA hearing into second or third week of April, and frankly, that's the week I'm due to do that. So that's the tough bit for me. However, that's what's necessary, that we're gonna do that. So, and Ms. Shropshire also said that there's the potential to hold a special meeting to take a vote before the April 11th, next scheduled meeting, and that would be great.
Commissioner Lewis, final thoughts.
I don't think we should constrain ourselves and, make such a guarantee that we will have it all settled before our April meeting. That's quite unfair to the residents there, especially if, Commissioner Shropshire is not able to allocate or, schedule spacing. And I have that issue, so I know we should not put ourselves in that box.
So with that, trying to get us back on time, I think if there's no other If there's no other discussion, I think we'll give it to Commissioner Shropshire for
May I
a
allow to
motion.
clarify a couple things or?
Give you 30 seconds quickly.
Okay, just because I heard the term massive building, like at least from design, and I just wanted to clarify that the building is now is the narrowest building on the block. It's only 13'6", and it's it's 30 foot high. So that's why I wanted to clarify the word massive is, I don't know where's that coming from. It's 13 feet. It's the narrowest on the block.
You may want to consider changing it from the style of from a mansard roof. I know that
The mansard roof is only to break the height, to make the building look short.
you might want
That's
to
the
consider
only
another design solution because it.
Yeah,
The
the
other-
planning agreed with that as well. They gave me questions to ask about that roof. Still a question for them as well.
And the Office of Planning actually were expecting the design because there was ongoing correspondence
Well,
on
they
the
were the
design
reason that
before
you
the final
submitted the
package.
design, according to the conversations that I had with them. It wasn't really the way that our concerns as much as it was for the Office of Planning.
I think it's something that we definitely need to discuss within the community and determine what we were willing to support or what other designs or what would be acceptable. So, with that, I'm gonna make a motion. I'm gonna move that we oppose the project, until we actually can, make a motion to oppose the project.
I support it, or I second it.
So there's a motion on the floor to oppose this project. It has been moved and properly seconded. We've already had discussion, so unless anyone has anything urgent, we're gonna go ahead and move to a vote. Not seeing anyone raising their hand, so all that are in favor of opposing this project, please say aye and raise your hand. I want to make sure they're very clear. So I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I see unanimous consent to oppose, therefore I am not gonna ask for any no's, and there are no abstentions. So the motion passes to oppose this project. Thank you, Commissioner, for the reasons that have been mentioned and will be in your letter. Thank you, Commissioner Shropshire, and thank you to the presenters. We do look forward to continuing to work with you to come to a solution. So next up, we have hopefully some quick resolutions. This next one is a resolution to support the MPD Summer Crime Initiative. And I thought that I put this up, but maybe I didn't. No, yeah, there it is. Okay, so I'm gonna do it this way, and I'm just gonna read it. So how many of you know what the Summer Crime Initiative is? A couple of folks. Okay, so if you don't know, so the Summer Crime Initiative is a time during the summer from I believe May 1 to roughly shortly before Labor Day, where MPD will allocate additional officers to police service areas or PSAs that are needed the most. PSA 507 has been the very fortunate recipient of this for the last couple of years. We were just talking about Great Weight. ANCs have the ability to make a formal request of the district government, which would include the police. And based upon some recent events, both in my SMD and lots of other SMDs, I'm putting forth basically this letter to Chief Lanier to request that all 3 of our PSAs, which is PSA 505, 506, and 507, receive those additional officers for the Summer Crime Initiative. And sorry, I didn't set the timer. I'll quickly read this letter and I will open it up for discussion. So the letter says, Chief Lanier, ANC 5D's boundaries include MPD police service areas 505, 506, 507. As outlined in the crime statistics below, our police service areas continue to see high calls for service and correspondingly high crime. And then I list a table that I won't read to you, but basically these are breakdowns of 14-15 to 15-16 crime statistics. The 2 that I'll point out is in that PSA 505, there were 20 additional violent crimes in 15-16, and PSA 507, there were 13 additional violent crimes. In all 3 PSAs, the total crime, however, was lower. So while we are excited about the continued total crime improvements in all 3 police service areas, we know that crime tends to spike in the warmer months, which is not captured above. As we approach that time period, ANC 5D requests that our PSAs be considered for inclusion in MPD's Summer Crime Initiative, as has been the case for PSA 507 in years past. In accordance with DC Code 1309-10H2, please consider this a formal request for district government action by the Metropolitan Police Department. Similarly, please let us know if ANC 5D can be of assistance in fulfilling or facilitating status updates on this request. We know that our neighborhoods are safest when the community and police work hand in hand, and we welcome any opportunities to support a continued partnership. So I'm going to move the ANC 5D send that letter as read.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. We'll take 2 minutes for any
Discussion.
debate or discussion. Commissioner Henderson.
Traditionally, PSA 507, which encompasses Lang, Lyman, M Street, Carver Terrace, Langston Terrace, and even over in the Rosedale area. That area is out of control. Out of control. We have a new commander, Commander Fitzgerald. I can tell you I'm very pleased with his level of responsiveness. We have more officers now assigned to PSA 507 than we have had at any time before. I think that we need to stay the course. The incident that happened in the 1700 block of Lyman represents our violent past in terms of where we came from. We want to make sure that we have enough resources not to go back there. We all remember what it was like. There are shoes on the wires down on M Street that indicate that drugs are being sold there, and there have been shoes placed in my area as well. And I've made sure that those shoes are promptly removed. We have to make it clear that we're not open for business the way we normally have been. And that requires a massive response by MPD. And we want to make sure that we have the resources to continue to focus police need where it's needed. And it's needed in Langston, Carver, and that Rosedale area. We have all kinds of violent crime, and you can't take police resources out of a hat. So I support policing and safety for everyone, but we need to make sure that the areas where we've made some progress, that MPD can finish the job. And that's why it was so important to respond to Lyman Place and M Street. And we want to make sure that going forward, that zone of chaos, which is the 700 to the 900 blocks of 19th Street, are made to be under control. One of our neighbors is here tonight that said it's a circus and the circus is ending, and we need to make sure MPD helps us to end that circus.
Thank you, Commissioner Henderson. From the commissioners, any other debate? All right, go ahead and we've reached the end of debate. So it's been moved and properly seconded that we send this letter as read. All for sending that letter, please say aye.
Aye.
All against, say no.
Opposed?
So any abstentions? So I count 6 yeses and 1 no. The motion passes. Thank you. The second item, and this is both from Commissioner Lewis, mostly Commissioner Lewis, actually. I was going to say all Commissioner Lewis. This is regarding, do we have a representative from DDOT here? Thank you. If we can ask you to make it quick because we are over a little bit. Thank you for staying.
Yeah.
This is regarding the Rails with Trails project that is within 5D01, right? And if you could tell us a little bit about the project.
Sure, yeah. So my name is Michael Albino. I'm from the District Department of Transportation, and I work on trails. And so we're here to share with you a project that we're calling this the New York Avenue Rail with Trail. And this is a project that we just have finished a draft study of. This is something that's been included in a couple citywide transportation plans going back to about 2005. The idea that there should be some kind of trail in the New York Avenue corridor connecting Mount Vernon Triangle, Noma, Ivy City to the Arboretum. So about a year ago, we began work with Douglas Development and Rails and Trails Conservancy, really for the first time to start looking at what that would mean in reality. So what we have now is a draft of a concept, something that we hope is a starting point for conversation to move forward for some further planning study. The next step would be some community involvement to get some suggestions from the community of what they would like to see in the trail, where they would like to go, and how it might connect through these neighborhoods. So Eli is here from the Rails and Trails Conservancy, who might be able to answer any more detailed questions about the project.
Any quick questions from the community or commissioners?
Or I'd like to make a comment because we've actually ran over and I will have to leave probably right after this presentation. The community as a whole is excited about this project also because it connects